Hello everyone, my name is Jessie Hall and I am a first year student at Western Sydney University and I'm currently in my second semester um, of my Bachelor in Primary Education and my student number is 206784770 and today we will be talking about catering for diversity. So firstly I would like to take the time to describe what diversity is. Diversity is described as the understanding of an individual's uniqueness and respecting each other's differences. This is where we can see children understand, accept, and respect one another's differences, and all of these things really just coincide with one another. And there are different types of diversity that I would like to address. Especially in such a diverse and multicultural country. We can see children of different race, ethnicity, immigration status, gender, sexual orientation, language, culture, religion, mental and physical ability, and socioeconomic status. So, Australia is one of the most cohesive and successful multicultural countries compared to their past immigration policy. Which happened between the years of 1901 and 1958. This is where the Parliament wanted an all-white Australia and made it quite difficult for any immigrant to set foot into the country, and they would have a list of languages and 50 words in every one of those languages, and on the day the tester would just pick a language and they would have to know all those words. So that was quite difficult for immigration. Within the school dynamic, though, we can see more challenges in the classroom arise, especially, and this can look like disengagement or decreased participation in either playtime or in classroom activities, intersectionality. Intersectionality occurs when social categorizations leading to disadvantage and discrimination overlap. Feelings of inadequacy, cultural misunderstandings, and this can look like two children or adults talking, and what is acceptable to say or do in one culture is quite offensive in another culture. Discrimination, inadequate inclusion, which can be the failure to include another child or colleague, and communication issues, and this can be language barriers. So I have examined a text, and the text was called Examining the Association Between Social Context and Disengagement, Individual and Classroom Factors in Two Samples of At-Risk Students. And within this text, they had conducted a study in a high-profile school in Europe. And they were explaining, or more so finding out, why children were leaving before their graduation. And their hypothesis was that children felt as if they didn't belong. So within this study that they have done, they created indicators for engagement. For example, these look like a lack of motivation and participation in school. So this would generally mean that, a child that's sitting there and twiddling their thumbs wasn't exactly disengaged from the learning. They were just distracted. Generally a bad mood when attending school, and a tendency to show truant behaviors. So how can students experience disengagement? They can feel a sense of not belonging within the school setting or even friend group. Noticing the differences between other students. So if another child was to point out the color of their skin, this might make them feel a bit weird and draw attention to their uniqueness. And this can make other children feel quite insecure. They could be bullied or come from a low socioeconomic status, and this can make children see other children or other families doing things together, and they can quite essentially have a low self-esteem and possibly even become depressed. So what is inclusive education? This is described by the New South Wales Education Department, and it is defined as all students, regardless of disability, ethnicity, socioeconomic status, nationality, language, gender, sexual orientation, or faith. They can access and fully participate in learning alongside their similar aged peers. So this is pretty much just the act of being inclusive within their diverse groups as well. So I quite like this quote from Skinnerman, Kinderman, and Cornell and Wellborn. Not only the absence of engagement, but also the presence of maladaptive processes and states. So that quote to me really just links in with how teachers can be agents of change and social justice. Um, and some more points can be being adaptive to the needs of all students, acceptance of all students, building children up, being active supervisors and teachers and listeners, reflecting on practices and asking for feedbacks from children and also colleagues, allowing freedom of choice and speech within the rules of the classroom. So this can look like of choices. It can be with a choice of maths or English first, and within the rules, it would be you need to raise your hands, you need to not yell inside, and so on and so forth. So we've learnt about the dialogic approach, but we've also learnt about Freire's banking model. And this was described as knowledge is a gift bestowed by those who consider themselves knowledgeable upon those whom they consider know nothing. And this can be described as the banking model where a teacher would stand up at the front and write on the board and explain things and just talk at the children. This we have discovered is not really a very good approach, as children cannot retain from talking. Children can get sidetracked and distracted by friends or what's happening outside and so on and so forth. So Freire actually came up with the dialogic learning, and this is the result of interactions that are produced in an elaboration dialogue that is orientated to the creation and acquisition of new knowledge. So this can be in a group setting where children are all sitting in a circle and sharing their ideas and being respectful while the teacher sits there and guides or asks questions. This is thought to be a better approach to learning, as children can incorporate their ideas and ask their own questions and begin to understand their own learning. So my teaching philosophy is more based around pretty much the rights of the children. As a teacher, I would want to be the reason a child can stand up for who they are and what they believe in, and feel comfortable to do so. And I also want a child, or every child, to be comfortable enough to come up to me when they are struggling or if they have an issue. I would want my students to feel comfortable using their voices and to share their ideas and to always be kind to one another, because that is the most important thing. And who can learn in a toxic environment when there's so much chaos and hatred? And I really would just like kindness and peace and love and affection. So yeah, thank you so much.